Hello Spartans, and greetings from Boston. Today I want to share with you some wisdom from St. Ignatius about fasting, which is one of the 3 penitential practices that Christians undertake during Lent, along with prayer and almsgiving. Now, fasting is, according to St. Ignatius, a form of exterior or bodily penance, which is really a fruit or product of interior penance, which is that sorrow or contrition that we have for our sins and a desire not to repeat them, right? Not to commit those sins again. Now, that sorrow motivates us to undertake bodily or exterior penance. And we would do this for 3 reasons. First is to make up for or satisfy for our past sins. Now, that might seem a little odd at first, like, oh, I don't need to make up for it. Well, if you think about it this way, if you really love someone and you've hurt them or wronged them in some way, you're going to want to make up for it, not just in the sense of saying you're sorry, but kind of going the extra mile in a sense to restore the relationship, right? That's kind of what penance is like. The second reason Ignatius gives us for exterior bodily penance is to overcome ourselves and have our bodily or physical desires, right, for food or drink or sex or pleasure really of any kind, be ruled by our reason and our will, right? We want to be able to make conscious choices about food and drink and sex and pleasure rather than being kind of run over by our urges and desires. And like athletic training, it takes practice, right? So we do fasting as a way to exercise ourselves in self-discipline so that we can call on that skill, that ability later. Now, the third reason St. Ignatius says that we do exterior penance is to gain some sort of gift or grace that we're looking for, right? That might be actually sorrow and contrition for our sins in the first place, but it could also be compassion and tears for what Jesus endured for us in his suffering, or to kind of find a solution to a particular difficulty or problem that we have. So that brings us back to fasting, right? Which is a form of abstinence, really, right? Giving up some sort of bodily good or pleasure, right? Would it be food or drink or, even something like watching TV as a form of penance. Now, St. Ignatius says when we give up something that is extra, right, or superfluous, that's not really penance, right? That's just temperance. It's when we give up what's actually kind of normal or suitable, that's when we're actually talking about penance. So it's not really penance if, for example, I have a bad habit of binge watching Netflix every night and I kind of bring that under control, right? That's just temperance, that's a good habit. It's penance if I decide, okay, for Lent, for example, I'm just going to give up Netflix entirely, right? That's more than I actually need to do. That's where it becomes something penance. Now, there's an important caveat when it comes to fasting. We want to make sure that whatever fasting we do doesn't actually harm us bodily or prevent us from the obligations that we have. So if I, as a student, were to literally stop eating for a week, I probably wouldn't have the strength to actually do my assignments and go to class. That would be a problem, right? That would not be a good form of fasting, right? So we have to keep that in mind. So I want to encourage you this Lent to consider fasting as a form of penance. If your fasting gives you extra time, for instance, maybe you can use that time with your family or maybe in prayer. If you're fasting from snacks, for instance, you save a little money because of that, because you're not buying snacks. Give that money to the poor. Spartans, it's good to be with you. I'll be praying for you. Please pray for me as well.